Despite the exit agreement, the EU is initially insisting that the majority of an airline must be in European hands. That has consequences for investors. Brexit puts some European airlines and their shareholders in an uncomfortable position. At the turn of the year, the airlines took a step that was always seen as a last resort. They disempowered many shareholders by removing their voting rights. Shareholders who are not based in the EU. The British low-cost airline EasyJet confirmed at the beginning of the week that it would withhold shareholders' votes at the general meeting. But shareholders of the Irish heavyweight Ryanair and even the Hungarian Wizz Air receive unpleasant mail from their companies. The board of directors of the Hungarian low-cost airline started on December 29th to inform shareholders that important voting rights were being taken away from them. After all, 60% of the shareholders should receive the letter with the title Restricted Share Notice. The tough step is a consequence of Great Britain's exit from the EU. It is true that the UK and the EU agreed on an agreement just before Christmas, and thus at the last minute that regulates trade reforms and trade relations between the EU and Great Britain. The continuation of air traffic was also agreed. However, the subject of ownership remained open. This is an EU regulation according to which airlines that offer connections between two EU destinations must be controlled by investors domiciled in the Union. So far, British shareholders were part of the EU share, but not since the beginning of the year and the end of the Brexit transition period. This means that the proportion of non-EU shareholders in some airlines is now above the 50% threshold. At EasyJet and Ryanair, the Anglo-Saxon origin is responsible for the significant British shareholders. At Wizz Air, the IPO in London in 2015. The Hungarians are now withdrawing around 60% of all shares of voting rights. Ryanair has also taken away all non-EU member shareholders' votes. In the summer, when the British were still among them, just under 53% of Irish papers were in the EU. As is so often the case, Brexit sets a precedent here too. The union rules for the homeland security of airlines are taken ad absurdum because one and the same investor does not turn from friend into threat overnight. EasyJet is taking the pragmatic path, where almost 53% of the shares are now outside the EU. There, those non-EU shareholders who bought it last and therefore had to be aware of the risk are cut first. But it is regrettable that the EU did not want to agree to a follow-up solution that, for example, would continue to treat all UK shareholders who were invested on a given date as EU shareholders. Both sides have agreed to discuss a possible liberalization of this requirement in the coming months. But those responsible at the airlines cannot and do not want to rely on that. They fear for their traffic rights and therefore take precautions. And that's of course a good thing, because it's not guaranteed that this will change. And the question is, why should that change? The majority of the voters in the UK decided to leave the EU with all consequences. And if there are rules for members only, from my position, they have to stay rules for members only. And if you want to stay informed, please subscribe to my channel and to my other channels. I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.